First item on the agenda is pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the agenda review. I don't have any amendments. Somebody else does. Hearing none, we'll move on to correspondence and public comments. Hearing none of those, we'll move on to the consent agenda, approval of minutes for January 20 and January 21st. Do we want to split those into two, or do we do them together?
I wasn't here for one of those, so.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve January 20th minutes. Eric first.
Second.
Devin second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving January 20 minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Megan abstains, so motion carries 6-0-1. Entertain a motion to approve January 21st meeting minutes.
I did review them and I don't see anything wrong with them, so I'll make that move.
Steve's first,
Second.
Devin second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving January 21st meeting minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries 7-0. Okay, presentations, have you administration?
Did everybody receive a copy of the admin report? I hope. Our registration for 2021 has begun. Students have gone through the elective fair. They've seen what options are available for them for next year. They've started to meet with their guidance counselors. The windows for, I believe, 8, 9, 10, and 11 is now open. So they are beginning to register for classes for next year. So we'll have a better picture of which classes will run and all that for next year. Northwest Tech Center visits during the week of January 14th. We had several of our students that attend the Tech Center and instructors from the Northwest Technical Center visited with our 9th and 10th graders to explore the options that they have available. This is something that we typically do every year. So I know the Tech Center came in and presented to you guys last time we were here, but this is something that we typically do. Our 8th graders go to the Tech Center next Friday, the 14th. So they go down for a half day. The Voyagers go in the morning, Dream Team goes in the afternoon. All students get to explore 2 programs of their choice. So they get to choose prior to going down through. They've heard what's available to them, they choose, and then they'll go on and explore those 2 options in the afternoon or in the morning. The STEM fair, we recently had our STEM fair. I know several of you were able to attend that. You see some of the, for the high school, the top high school winners are there. Including Ella Partlow. Julie, I don't know if you want to show the...
I will when you're finished.
Okay.
Already, that'd be...
I don't know if people saw the news on WPTZ the other morning, actually it was yesterday morning. I'm trying to think of her name. It's a lady they always put out in the middle in the snowbank. But she actually came up and interviewed Ella Partlow and talked about the MU STEM fair. And Rich Ballard spoke about it as well. So Julie will show that clip. It's about 2.5 minutes, a few minutes. But you see some of the projects down through there as well. And down below that are the top middle school winners as well. So really a great night, over 130 presentations, kids presenting. It was great stuff. And really some great topics. Math and Literacy Night occurred, 9th grade orientation night was on Thursday, January 23rd. Some of you were able to attend that as well. And it was also our Title I Math and Literacy Night. During that night, we give out some high interest books to people, which all paid through the grants, and some math games, things that you can do with your family, card games, things along that line that we give to families. A lot of math-based games, just playing using regular playing cards. And then on January 21st, we had an in-service day here at Missisquoi Valley Union. The morning was devoted to teachers' professional goals. And they actually were able to select a 2-hour session of professional development that they actually were interested in, something that was really pertinent to them. What we're finding is rather than just giving it to everybody, where some people have had bits and pieces of it, when you allow them to kind of pick and choose some of the stuff, the areas, it might be more on the horizontal framework, it might be more around math development, it might be on the collaborative problem think kids model, whatever it may be, whatever they need during that time. They get some of that. Some of it was prescribed for them. Some of the stuff we said, we're going to recommend 9th grade, you guys get this, but for the most part, groups were able to choose what they wanted to do for the professional development. And then in the afternoon, they were able to make preparations for second semester. One of the things that we found is that teachers, when we did away with the half-day exam schedule several years ago, that teachers needed that transition to be able to go into second semester and get ready. So we gave them the afternoon to be able to kind of shift gears a little bit, get their stuff organized, ready. Even the half day meant a lot to them when I was talking to them. It's just, it gives them time to be able to get ready and organized. Some of the upcoming events that we have, this Friday, we have a half day of school and a half day of in-service. And a lot of that in-service is district-wide. We also have a cheer competition here on Saturday. Middle school sports awards are on the 18th. History night, I see that one did not make it. History night is on Thursday, February 21st. So that'll be coming up. February 24th, we have to March 3rd is the winter break. High school sports award, March 9th. One that I really want to mention is the 6th grade registration night. We are getting organized, getting ready already for incoming 7th grade already. So we're getting all of that organized and getting that ready to go. So we, a 6th grade registration night to invite all of the parents who are current, or will have current 6th graders to be able to attend that night. They hear a lot from, hear a little bit from me, I speak a little bit that night, but then they kind of break up by town, and the students that come get to hear from current students that went to their school. So kids that they know, kids that they trust, and they get to ask them all kinds of questions, to help allay a lot of those fears. And same with parents as well. Because for some parents, this is their first time in the building, first time really being here. So just kind of gives you an idea about some of the upcoming events.
I have one question. The history night, isn't that the 20th?
Is it the Thursday,
Yeah, it's the
20th? Yes. Sorry. The 21st. It is Thursday, the 20th? Yes. Starting at 6 o'clock, and that'll be down in the gym.
I have a question. There's been a controversy about parents and February 18th, the middle school sports awards, and a lot of the coaches are saying that it's February 10th. So it's showing up on the Sports Engine app as February 10th, and coaches are saying it's February 10th. So.
Okay, I went off the master calendar for that. I'm not sure if Mr. Lumpson has changed or not. I can certainly, I might be able to get you an answer in a few minutes.
And then we can make it public if there's
Yes.
confusion about that.
Right. Yep. So let me see if I can get you an answer in a few moments.
Thank you.
Yep. Do you want to show the?
I do.
All right.
I want to find the agenda. There it is. Why are you small? Hey, Robert. I know, but there we go.
Students to head to the state science fair by having them first present their projects on the local level. One of those students is Ella Parlow.
I'm a competitive dancer, and so I actually had a competition the same day as the Vermont STEM Fair, so I was really going back and forth between Norwich and downtown Burlington.
Ella Parlow is hoping this year's Vermont STEM Fair is less stressful. You
have your hypothesis, which you do after your background research.
Especially because her project is pretty much done.
I have some photos of what the Petri dishes looked like and some interesting growth. that happened.
Harlow, along with many other freshmen and sophomores at Missisquoi Valley Union High School, had to present on their local level already.
Everybody is required to do an independent research project. You can also put that into the STEM fair. Up to this year, we had 130 students or so that were involved.
Now, there's no subject requirement, leaving it completely up to Harlow what she'd research for her school's fair.
I wear contacts myself, and so it applied to me directly.
For her third year at the state fair, she's diving into some practical research.
I wanted to test to see how effective different contact solutions were at minimizing bacteria growth on the surface of a contact lens.
These kids are really, enthusiastic about what they're doing. They love the project they chose.
Science fair topics range from soils to syrups down to the smallest things you can see under a microscope. The hope is that students can see science past their textbooks.
We've definitely seen a lot of kids that are involved in science and that are going into science in college after they leave here, so that's nice.
Now, the sophomore doesn't know if she'll pursue research or science after high school, but she does say she's thankful for the opportunities her school gives her now.
I think the teachers in the classes definitely help to push me. I often learn things from doing these experiments, so that's really the best part of it is learning.
Harlow came in first place at her local science fair about a week and a half ago, and she placed in the top 10 in last year's state fair, so we'll have to wait to see how far those contacts get her. Jackie Pascal, NBC 5 News.
I thought that was a nice little
That's cool.
That's great.
showcase of our students in the STEM fair.
Yeah. I turned the TV on at 5:15 in the morning, and I was like, I looked at it, I'm like, that's all Apollo. That's Jackie Pascal. What are we doing? It's like one of those, yeah, so it was great. So nice, positive, that's very nice.
Yeah. Yep. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to central office.
So you have the superintendent's newsletter, talked about how we're preparing for our budget vote, engaged in a principal search in Highgate, and just thanking the administrative team for their work putting together the budget and working together on that. And we have some of our central office folks here. We don't have everybody because some people are sick or have kids who are sick. Can't imagine, nobody's sick at this time of the year. But we do have some folks. I'm wondering if Kosha, you wanted to start?
Sure. So just to give you a little update on.
Come up here, I'll move over.
Come on up.
Why don't you take my spot?
No, that's okay. You can sit right here. Thank you. Just to give you an update on what's going on with curriculum, assessment, and instruction. So we are piloting a new universal screener in reading and math. It's called Start 360 in all our schools this year, and basically it's a computer adaptive test, very similar to the SVAC. And we get like instant data on the students. The coaches and interventionists have training on that, and all the schools are piloting it right now. Highgate already had started using it last year, and the coaches reported that they got some excellent information on students. They were able to put interventions into place as well as monitor the growth and progress of students. So we decided to expand it. MVU had used it for math last year, so this year everybody's going to be using it for math as well as reading. It's also aligned to the Vermont state standards, and so it has high predictability with how students will perform on the SVAC. So right now, they've been trained. We are doing our first round of data collection, and hopefully there'll be another round in May, so we'll be able to measure growth in the students. But from what I've heard, everybody's excited to be able to get information in a very quick turnaround and to put interventions into place. Our monthly meetings with the Stern Center folks continues in Highgate and Franklin, and the focus of that is early literacy skills, because we know how important those foundational skills are to developing reading ability in students. So Stern Center coaches come once a month and they are unpacking a lot of information with the teachers. They're also going into classrooms and observing in the classrooms. They're helping teachers when they have students who aren't making growth and they're wondering what's going on. So they're supporting teachers in that way. Last year, we also introduced a new teacher evaluation model. So our administrators have had training on that model. We also had the consultant come back a few weeks ago and work individually with each principal so that they could talk about some issues they were having or if they have specific questions on how to use the model. They've also had training in the online platform, which is called iObservation. So principals can enter their data electronically, and then at a district level, we would be able to look at that data globally and see what are the strengths of all our teachers, what are some needs, and design professional development around those. So we are continuing to support principals in this new teacher evaluation model. At the same time, we really wanted to also have teachers understand the new model. So we have run 9 workshops after school since last year just for teachers. They are about an hour and a half. Heidi Moja and myself, we did one workshop a week ago, and basically just breaking apart the parts of the evaluation model so that teachers can understand when their administrator comes in to do an observation and give them feedback on it, what is that going to entail? So in the newsletter, I put in a diagram to show the different components of that evaluation model. And basically, it covers how are they planning using the standards, how are they instructing students, what are their conditions for learning that optimize student achievement, and then also they get evaluated on the fulfillment of their professional responsibilities. And then finally, we had Jennifer Patmore, who's been coming into our district to really help support our work with the multi-tiered systems of support. And this time, the principals all asked me if they could have her for half a day just in their building to work with their MTSS teams. So it was really a very effective way of having each of the teams work with the consultant, talk about what progress they've made, and then do some problem solving. At MVU, they really focused on the EST process, which is providing educational support to students who have some either identified disability and are on a 504 plan, or who haven't just made gains, and teachers are concerned about why they're not making progress. So we've had a lot of different professional development happening in January, and our content curriculum teams continue to meet on a weekly basis so that we are refining our curriculums in all the content areas and building on them. So a lot of stuff going on, and I really feel proud of the work that we have been doing, because we are growing and learning as adults along with our students, and always trying to think about that continuous improvement process and what we can do to make all the systems we have in our schools even more effective.
Thank you.
So, Dan, you just handed out the Vermont Youth Project summary.
Yes. So I figured while I had Coach at the table.
You may as well, because they've both been involved in this with Carol Lazat and many community members.
Yep. So this is a snapshot of kind of what's been going on. The Vermont Youth Project stems from something called the Icelandic Prevention Model. And what essentially the Icelandic Prevention Model stemmed from was about 20 years ago, they took a look and they said, our number of our kids using tobacco, drinking, drug use, everything else was out of control. And so they really tried to wrap around that. And what they started to do is they developed a survey and really kind of were gathering data on what their kids were doing, and they decided to focus on how to tackle those issues. And so we had them present to us last year. We decided that we're going to buy in. It's helped supported by the tobacco grant. And so we surveyed all of our students, grades 7 through 12. So when it says Swanton, please understand that this is Swanton, Highgate, Franklin, some Sheldon, some Allberg kids included as well. All right, so it says Swanton, but it's everybody. We're one of 6 schools in the state of Vermont. Enosburg is also doing it. Richford area is also doing it. Fairhaven, MMU, and one more. Us. But what it does is it takes a look at some various factors, risk factors, family factors, parental factors, and helps correlate some data. It gives us some relatively new data when we take a look at it. And I've given you guys kind of a snapshot of what it looks like. I went to the Swanton Enhancement meeting last night. Carol Lazat was there to kind of take a look and maybe present some of that information. I thought you might have the opportunity last night to present some of it. But it really, it is something that, Reg Beliveau is on it, and there's other people from the Swanton community that are also on this committee, to take a look at what we can do for our youth. And again, not just Swanton, but Highgate, Franklin as well, to provide other opportunities for them. So you've got a snapshot of some of the data here. You see some of the, like on page 3, what to know about the survey. There were 71 multiple choice questions over 5 domains, which are family, peer group, school, out of school time, or what they call third space, and substance use. And so it surveyed all the kids about that. If you turn it over to what our youth are doing, this one here, this is some information, some stats that are, some of it's eye-opening, some eye-opening stats. Ones in particular, what our youth are saying, 9% of all high schoolers report that parents would not care about cannabis use. That their parents would not care about it. 67% of 11th and 12th graders report their parents know the parents of their friends. And so what that'll tell you is, on the flip side of that, 33% of parents don't know the other parents and don't have a conversation to say, hey, my kid's coming over tonight. What's going on at your place or anything along that line. So it kind of opens that up to say, what's going on. And so it's not just a school, I want people to understand, it's not just a school-related, an MBU-related issue. It's trying to take a look at it as a whole and what we can do as a community, with the school included, to help tackle some of these. 72% 9th and 10th graders report spending time with their parents on the weekend. 53 would like to live in the same community in the future. That to me was kind of shocking to say that 47% of all kids, grades 7 through 12, have no plan on living in the same community when they grow up. And so we're hoping to have some correlation between what Swan was talking about last night with making some connections between local business and MBU to help encourage those kids to stay. If they certainly have that opportunity. Family time, you take a look. Again, it just gives you a little bit of information about each area, what it talks about. Third space, again, where they are when they're not in school. Where do they go? And what we'll find is, a lot of them go to a friend's house. Parents may or may not know where they're at. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I think it's like 91% of kids say their parents know where they're at, and they're out after 10 o'clock at night. So, 9% of our kids are out after 10 o'clock at night, and the parents may not know where they're at or what they're doing. So it's eye-opening. Substance use. The survey showed us that 52% of middle and high school students have tried alcohol. 32% of high school students have used alcohol in the last 30 days. Cannabis use, according to the survey, 20% of middle and high school students have tried marijuana. Vaping, survey tells us 32% of middle school and high school students have tried e-cigarettes, with 10% of 7th and 8th graders using daily, 33% of 11th and 12th graders using daily. And anecdotally, I'd almost say those numbers are higher, anecdotally saying. Even though the number of vapes, vaping pens, vaping-related products that we're actually confiscating this year is way down. It's actually way down. So either the kids are getting better at hiding it, or we're missing it. But people are getting better at identifying what it is. You may have noticed that part of the professional development that we talked about for the Martin Luther King Day, part of it was put on by Rise Vermont to help educate our teachers as to what to look for, and brought in a lot of vaping-related products. And one of the things that we do in the middle school is actually the ones that we collect, of all various sizes of them, we show them to the teachers, because this is what you want to look for. So that they have an understanding, because the majority of them really don't know what they're looking for. The majority of them look like a USB that you would plug into your computer.
Either do the parents.
No, absolutely, absolutely.
They look like a USB, what?
They look exactly like what you would plug into a USB, like a
Yeah.
Like
USB.
a flash?
Yeah, flashlight.
Yes.
That's exactly what they look like.
Oh, I know.
I'm seeing.
Now it's my ignorance on the topic.
So Dan, all of these students who are doing this are breaking the law, right?
Yes.
This is 21 now?
Yes.
So, I don't know.
But I will say is that the majority of, we're not for lack of trying, but we're not catching as many kids. And the number of Act 51 violations that we've had, I couldn't compare from this year to last year, but I would say we're down overall with the drug and alcohol violations. But yes, they are. Yep. And the majority of, and the survey goes on to say, where do you get this stuff? The majority of it is kids over the age of 18 or over 21. Where do the majority of the kids drink alcohol? Is in the home. And that's what the survey, when you drill down into the data, that's what the data will tell you. Actually, in substance use, 16% of high school students report they consume alcohol at the home of others. So it gives you, again, we will be continuing to discuss this. We are working on kind of figuring out what our main points are, what we're going to tackle as a community. Overall, one of the ones that we are going to be looking at is creating more opportunities. I believe two of the three focus, and correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, but one is having more activities for kids to be able to do. And we offer a lot, and we know that we offer a lot, but we still have a number of kids who are just kind of disengaged from that. They're not involved in sports anymore. They're not involved in drama. They're not out getting ready for the cheer competition for the weekend that you probably saw in Commons. They're not acting out in the theater. So what are other activities that they can do? And I know that with the SWAT enhancement project last night, part of what they were talking about is a community center, or building up the teen center, or providing more opportunities for kids so they're not involved in doing this. One of the things that I mentioned to our group was finding more. Almost every Friday night, I mean, if we did something almost every Friday night, we'd get a bunch of kids. I mean, we would get 50 plus kids, just because there's not much else for them to do. And it's a place for them to be able to socialize, hang out. I mentioned it to the library, and it looks like the Swanton Library may have like a movie night. We're trying to organize a movie night. Of course, it's got to be something the kids want to see and all that, but just something else for the kids to do so they're not out running the streets or going to somebody's house whose parents aren't home.
And having those programs in place, like from a young age, allows all of the kids to, it's a sense of familiarity, and it's just sort of becomes more of a natural place to go hang out instead of, folks who might be in 10th, 11th grade and they're like, I'm going to go hang out at the library on a Friday night. But being able to have the support of the communities to be able to implement those sort of programmings at a younger age is great.
I was just going to jump in. I shared some information with you last year about the Icelandic model. It's fascinating that it came from a municipal point of view rather than a school point of view. And that's really the model, that it's not about any one agency organization, but you have to, provide activities we have activities till about 5 o'clock at night or even beyond, depending on what activities you're involved. But in Iceland, they invested in lots of athletic centers, civic centers, dance, every kind of activity. And families, there's no reason for kids not to be involved in things. And then they have a curfew, and they have people who are involved in making sure kids get where they're supposed to. And in that 20 years, they turned around, they had the highest substance abuse rate in all of Europe, and now it's the lowest. So no one thing would have solved the problem. So it's really exciting that communities in this Vermont Youth Project are really looking at the whole community and how we can come together to solve what is a big problem. Yeah.
And well, the only thing I was going to add is that they really emphasize that the fact that this is not a school problem. It's a community problem, and that all of us have to work together. The exciting part about this committee is there are school people, but there are members of the municipality, Rise Vermont, Northwest Medical Center, other nonprofits. So a lot of organizations that are already working on these issues that our children are facing are coming together to say, okay, we all have the same purpose. How do we put all of our resources together to make this work for our students? And as Dan mentioned, we've supported this initiative with the tobacco grant that we received from the state this year. And they just sent out a survey to all the schools that received it. So we are in our 4th year of the grant. It was a 4-year grant. And they asked us if they should expand the grant to cover not just smoking, but also other substances. So I did respond saying that would be great because it would cover all the other substances too. So we are hoping that there will be another 4-year cycle of the grant, and that we would be able to continue supporting this initiative through that.
Thank you very much.
So Wendy, Tanya is not here, she's not well, so you can save any questions you have for her. I know she'd be happy to answer any emails. It's Wendy's turn.
Hi.
Okay.
Sorry.
Breaking up housekeeping. Hi. Tonight I'm just going to fill you in on some updates with the early childhood program and some recent training that we just wrapped up. We completed the 3rd part of a series of trainings in the Flip It model for addressing challenging behaviors in children, which can be challenging for even the most seasoned educators and support staff. So all of our teachers and support staff have gone through the program now. The acronym FLIP stands for feelings, so acknowledging when a child's having a lot of feelings, helping them learn how to identify what those feelings are. Then setting loving limits. You have these feelings, but we do still have these limits in the classroom. And then inquiry for the child to kind of do some problem solving. And then if the child can't come up with an alternative, then the adult can prompt. And this concept isn't really anything new, but the Flip It model has shown that it gives providers an easy to remember sequence to follow, and that students and children who have been flipped regularly using this, they develop better coping skills and learn how to manage their feelings, and they become better problem solvers, and that those skills last a long time. So that was something exciting that we just wrapped up. And now all of the classrooms across all 3 schools all have similar language to be using with students and a model to follow. Another exciting thing in the last month, I worked with Amy Johnson from NCSS. She's the coordinator of the Parent-Child Center over there, to bring together a variety of providers from NCSS to come to our program and fill us in on what services are available to young children and families. We're in a unique position, children coming into the school system for the first time. We meet families and we often get to find out that there might be some needs, and now we have a better understanding of what branches of that organization are available and how families access it. We also received one point person over there, so whether we have a need for a student that's a school-based need or a need for a family, we can contact one person who will work with that family and determine what variety of services that NCSS has to offer that'll best suit their situation. And that's really nice because it takes the process from, well, I'm not sure if you might qualify for this or qualify for that. NCSS is really taking a position of, come tell us what your need is, and then they're using a variety of ways to meet those needs for families. So that was really exciting. In the next month, when I come back, we'll be reporting to you on the registration process. Just like Dan, we're going to be welcoming new students. So we're starting to gear up around how that process happens across the three towns. And then our students will be transitioning to kindergarten. I've been meeting with administration in each buildings to work on our plan for the spring for transition activities. It's a crucial transition for kids when they go from preschool into kindergarten, and we're getting ready for that, so look for more information.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Julie, one last thing. The Middle School Sports Awards is February 10th at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So I did receive confirmation. Yep.
Thank you.
Nice catch. That is us.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much. On to new business. First up is the Highgate Principal Search update.
So I don't have any candidate to bring to you today. We did have a search, we did a survey, we did virtual site visits to 3 candidates, and we did make an offer to an individual, and we do not have a decision from that person.
So we don't have a no.
So I wish I had more for you today, but I don't have an answer for you.
Do you have a date, like, were they given a certain amount of time to?
Yes, but I don't want to publicize that necessarily. That's all for that right now.
Okay, so next up is the Highgate Bond documentation considerations.
Okay, so I have a lot of things for the board to sign, and unfortunately, the bond bank did not include enough lines for everyone, so 2 a line maybe would be great when you sign these. But basically, the Highgate actual bond application has been approved, so there's a letter here from the bond bank. It's basically a commitment letter that I would ask the board to consider signing, and then there is a resolution that the board would need to adopt and approve, and a tax certificate, and the actual loan agreement for the bond, a loan agreement certificate, the actual bond itself, and a certificate of registration. Basically, all of these documents say that you followed the right process to acquire these bonds, and the board has had everything approved appropriately, and you are going to use the funds for the purpose in which they are intended. So,
Do you need every board member's signature?
it's a majority, at least a majority or all, but unfortunately, they only put 5 lines on everything, so. I've tabbed everything where it says, where there's a B, that's board, T is for treasurer, so don't worry about that. But the resolution does need to be formally approved.
So you need
Is one of the documents.
So do you want to have us read the resolution?
It's like 3 pages long.
Okay,
It
so we're
doesn't
not going to read the
necessarily need
resolution.
to be read.
But we would need a motion to adopt the resolution?
Yes.
For the Vermont Bond Bank?
Alright, so I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution for the Vermont Bond Bank for the Highgate bond.
I'll move that, Chris, unless somebody from Highgate wants to move it.
I'll second.
Don moved, seconded by Steve. Any discussion?
Just, I certainly don't want you to read it, but what is the premise of what we're signing?
Again, they all basically say the same thing, that you warn the meetings and everything was duly warned and adopted by the board and the community, and that the purpose of the funds is for facility, capital improvements in Highgate, and that is what you're promising that you're going to utilize the funds for. And if for whatever reason, and this is typical with any bond document I've seen, if for whatever reason the purpose of the building changed, then we would have to notify the bond bank. So, not that any of us think that would happen, but if for whatever reason the Highgate School had a different payment building for a different purpose, we would have to notify the bond bank and work with them through that. But that's basically what all of those documents say.
Pretty boilerplate.
Boilerplate, yeah. Yeah, and they've all been reviewed and prepared by bond counsel, who is Paul Giuliani, so.
He's been doing that for over 50 years.
I hope he doesn't stop, because he's great to work with. Yeah.
Any other questions, or any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the resolution, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 8-0.
Is that the only motion you need, Laura? Is that
Just the
motion?
resolution and the signatures, yeah, thank you.
When will the money become available? When do they sell their bonds?
End of March, I think it would actually.
So we just
go
signed next to the, where it says B?
Anywhere there's a B, yeah.
Anywhere there's a B.
Yeah, and if you can fit two on a line, that would be great.
Probably.
We're not planning on expending any funds, and it's a reimbursement now, so probably not until July or August.
Can we invest those funds?
They do.
They do.
I don't know what the next thing is.
Warrants is next.
Oh, okay. I don't know if you're willing to review the warrants and consider those as the next item.
Actually, I think we want to talk about the warrants first.
Okay.
Why don't we do that?
Do we need to do that in exec or?
I mean, it depends on what the issue might be.
Well,
Is it a personnel or contract issue?
contract issue,
So if it's a contract discussion, that is an item that's eligible for executive session.
Okay.
We need to find that.
Yeah, so you need a vote to find that there's a reason to move that topic into executive session.
well, I think the discussion is, the amount, and, we want to talk about the contract that we have in place right now and the expense on the board.
For a specific vendor.
Yes.
Okay, so if it's regarding a specific,
Would be a contract issue.
Yeah.
I just was, you want to give me a heads up, so what?
It's not close.
This first one is just a clear time.
That's just you. Sorry,
That was
I
just
only
me.
gave you one line yet.
so in terms of the warrants, yeah.
some of that.
So Steve, Laura let me know what the contract is through. So the contract is with NCSS or as a purchase service. NCSS provides.
Warranty.
Right, and NCSS, Northwestern Counseling Services and Supports, our
Okay.
designated mental health agency,
Okay.
gives us a lot of student-based services. It can be, we contract for them for clinician services in our schools,
Okay.
for school-based behavior consultants that work with teams of students and schools as a whole. They provide services through their CAT program, which is our behavioral supports for individual students who have significant behavioral needs.
Okay.
They provide services for students, inclusion services for children with autism who need individual planning and supports through their IEPs. The CAT services are also usually through individual IEP decisions. And NCSS also is the umbrella organization that is responsible for the school SOAR Learning Center, where students are at a therapeutic day school.
Right.
So when we're talking about that as a that's very broad, but you can see that's a very large number of services. And it is, in terms of special ed services, beyond personnel, tuition and purchase services such as those. They're not the only providers of some of those services, but they are by far the largest because they're our designated mental health agency. That is one of the largest cost drivers for individual student needs.
Well, just in comparison though, Laura, can you tell me what the warrants were for last month? That I read aloud and.
Did you not sign that one, or were you not
Please.
supposed to sign that? Just to check.
Because they bill on a cycle, so it's not, it's usually, I believe it's quarterly that we would be paying for those bills. So,
There may be some in that stack right there, actually. Almost 2.9 million last month.
It's 3.4 this month.
Yeah. I can't speak to it exactly, but we could have had, a Blue Cross Blue Shield bill, for instance, hits that pile and didn't hit in December,
Okay.
or there's 2 in 1 month. I mean, you're talking, $500,000 right there. So, I mean, I'm happy to review and give you a little comparison of the larger. I didn't come prepared to do that, but I can certainly email that to you if you're.
Well,
Or the NCSS bills, for instance. I don't know the exact amount,
just
but.
don't get it wrong, it's
Yeah.
not just me.
Oh, yeah.
No.
We're just,
Yeah, it's a
we're
lot of
just
money.
wondering, so,
Yeah.
3.4,
Yep.
that's a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely. This is,
How
I'm
are
aware of
we,
that.
how are we tracking compared to budget?
Compared to budget,
Yeah.
we're still okay.
Okay, good news.
Yep.
And these are services that are mandated by the state.
Not always.
Not always.
no.
There's Gen Ed and, sorry.
Yeah, there are students, again, it depends on the kind of service they're providing. A large number of services we get from NCSS are individual teams making decisions. We've tried all of the things locally within our school, we need a higher level of training and expertise. And so either special ed or through 504, those are protected teams that make those decisions. But it's not, every administrator is involved in those decisions, and they're decisions that are made knowing what the costs are and what needs to be tried beforehand. And it's also important that you all know that as a county, as a state, we're very aware of how much we spend on mental health and behavioral services. And the fact that schools are the payer of last resort essentially for these services, because students are required to be educated, they are not required to have mental health services or entitled to them at no cost, which is something that people have been advocating for. And as a county, we are talking about alternatives, and as a school district, I know Tammy Hayes is very aware of the cost and has worked very hard to improve our local alternative program that's off campus but attached to MVU and a part of it, and thinking about ways to expand that to lower grades and how we can work collaboratively as a county. The superintendents actually have all started discussing exactly how much we spend and on what kinds of services and what kinds of things could we do together. Because, and this is not to say that NCSS does not do an excellent job and provides high quality service, they do. But the need is really high. And we're all scrambling, they're scrambling as well to find high qualified people to meet the needs of kids who struggle. Yeah.
And I just quickly compare the 4 categories that we have. So accounts payable, which is just your basic, contracted services and supplies and equipment stuff, and then payroll other disbursements, which is your taxes and such, and then deductions, and it's all in the expense. So I'm assuming it is that the NCSS bill is in there. Bills are in there. The other lines are pretty in line with what they are every month.
Well, like I said, it was good news that we're still in budget.
Yeah, I mean, take 37 million and divide it by 12. Yeah. It's
Steve bringing it
still a
up.
big number.
These numbers are way bigger than I'm used to seeing, so I'm just,
absolutely.
I don't understand it, so I just.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it.
It's important that you ask, very much.
Does that satisfy your question?
I think
So you don't need executive for this?
No.
Okay.
In the next meeting this month, I will be bringing an updated financial report, as I was planning to do, so you'll be able to see more
I don't want to watch
specifics.
that line there.
The purchase service.
Yeah. I would.
But along those same lines, like I understand that, and I know that's our job is to be fiscally responsible, but it's also our job to take care of the kids. And if these students have been through every stage and this group of administrators are saying, this is what this student needs, I feel like we would be doing a disservice to say, well, tough, because these other kids were identified before you. I mean, I feel like that's a slippery slope. Like, yes, keep an eye on it, it is critical,
I
but-
get that, but it's $500,000 from last year.
And I mean, but that also isn't a bill for like 1 month, because
No,
it is
no,
quarterly,
no.
right?
I'll email you the period of time that that's from to follow up, just because I
No, I
want to go
get
back
that.
and look at it too.
No, I
Yeah.
understand.
No, certainly not, I just,
Ooh,
Yeah.
sorry, Doug.
I just want to let them finish.
I'm good.
I think the key takeaway for me from this discussion, having dealt with that in other situations, is what Julie has said. I think it's really extremely important, probably about every decade, maybe every 5 years, that all of the supervisory unions or superintendents in the area sit down and say, what services are we buying elsewhere, and can we do it as effectively at not necessarily also lesser rate, but not a rate that constantly increases and you have nothing to say. It's almost like the argument of, do you send tuition students out or do you try to take and find a way to keep them? Some places added 7th and 8th grade do it. So I hope that discussion continues and is a serious one, because
The whole shared services.
if you know this organization, it's a very good organization, but like any big organization, it's expensive. And it's not cheap. I mean, I'm sure that the people working here don't think they're overpaid. But at the same time, having been on the other end, it doesn't take long to run up $100,000. That's a decision. So, good. So anyway, I just wanted to say I'm really pleased, Julie, that somebody's looking into that again.
Oh, yeah, it's a concern across the state, but particularly in this county, it's a need that we've
I think we have one
identified.
of the better agencies maybe, but expansive, the most expansive public medical agency, and that's why they've really branched out.
Thank you.
sure, thank you.
So, I'll entertain a motion to accept check warrants as
I need to read them.
Steve's gonna read them.
No, I'm not. Okay, the check warrants as printed, accounts payable, $1,320,996.01. Payroll checks, $51,931.52. Payroll other disbursements, $1,551,649.32. And then payroll deductions are $509,959.84, giving you a total of $3,434,536.69.
So I'll entertain a motion to accept warrants as read.
I'll make the motion.
Devin's the first,
I'll second.
Megan's the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting check warrants as read, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Lease agreement update, I guess?
Yes, Pietro has looked at the lease and made some suggestions. Those suggestions have been shared with the landlord. He in turn has some that he has no issue with, some that he thinks should stay the same, which is not unusual. He and I have committed to meet together again before our next board meeting, so that we can come to you with what is worked out. That's where we are, and he's pretty open to the conversation.
Okay, and last bit for old business, budget promotion, next steps.
So, I'll start and you jump in. Okay. Laura has been working tirelessly on, in Purette and the others in the office to make sure that the ballots are prepared and ready and ordered, that the postcards are going out to all voters and households, notifying them of when the book will be ready. It'll be ready electronically, but of course we'll have printed copies available in sites. The principals have been submitting their letters for the board book. I've drafted my letter. We will be taping on Channel 16 this Friday. Thank you, Devin, Megan, and Chris for joining.
I'm not.
You're not going to be able to do it? Ooh. You have to give your slides to somebody else. Well, we'll talk afterwards. So some people, and Laura and I, will be doing a budget presentation on Friday.
I think Terry would do a lovely job.
She's in another country.
Oh, blast. I could get her for not being here.
Yeah, get her.
But we'll be taping that presentation. We're working on updating our slides right now and tomorrow, sending them out tomorrow. And I am preparing my little probing questions for all of the slides. After that, it should be about a week and we'll be able to make sure that that is on our MVSD website, which, by the way, had in fact been hacked, so that when you searched Missisquoi Valley School District, you didn't find it.
I didn't.
And so you found that, some teachers found that.
I did not.
Jeff Benet found that, and I dismissed it as him not being able to find things on the internet. And so I owe him a big apology.
It took me a long time.
It has been cleaned up. Robert, can you explain the process? Because I'm butchering it, but it's important.
Essentially, so we had what's called an injection of code into the back end of the website. And so it's nothing that any human would have ever found, but we, if you know what, like anti-malwares, anti-spywares, basically get a company to run that on our website files, cleaned it up, and it took another 3 days for Google to get cleaned up, caught up.
So now when you search Missisquoi Valley School District, MVU for sure comes up first because it's been there longer and people have searched it longer, but we come right up there. So I know, and the reason why I'm saying this is it's no good for us to have information about budget hearings and budget information and links to videos if you can't search the website, but that has been taken care of. We'll make sure that there are links on the school sites as well. We'll push them out on Facebook. And so that is
We covered it all.
so far so good. We definitely have our budget information meeting at 7 o'clock right here on the 25th of February. Tim Magnet will be moderating it for us because I believe our board chair won't be here. So we were hoping, Megan, you would be available to really go through the slides because you would have practiced with Devin in the taping.
I heard
So
you
now-
did really well last year.
Oh,
So now we have
Dawn's
some,
the vice chair.
we will definitely be opening the meeting and participating. And so you're just signing Dawn up for everything. But I expect it'll be well attended,
I
of
may not be
course.
back from Florida.
And you may or may not. We'll make sure.
I will.
So we have a number of, and before the Highgate and Franklin town meetings start, we're going to have some board members available to answer questions, although we want to encourage everyone to attend the full budget presentation at the informational meeting on the 25th. More?
The only thing I think is that I will be helping prepare some one-pagers, one little summaries, highlight pages as we have in the past for principals to use for families to order it on their websites.
So Megan, did you say you won't be there on the 25th? Did you say you will not be there on the 25th?
No, I said on the 7th.
Because I know that you've done the swamp in the last couple of years, I believe. When they had that video too.
I mean, I've sat there, I haven't.
Well, you taught-
I don't think I've said it.
Well, we did not, we did reach out to Swanton and we were not,
No, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, as we present the budget, since she has, not that she's presented this one, she should at least be there to be part of the player. She doesn't have to do it on
No,
her show.
she
I'll
can,
be at the information session for sure.
and so you absolutely can come and sit with us and practice beforehand. And Devin will have had some practice.
Yeah, you can take my slides from the informational. Because that was one of the reasons we were looking to have 3 for the taping this year instead of 2, just because I won't be here for the informational meeting.
What time is the taping?
2.
Yeah, that's right.
On the 7th.
You have different obligations.
I'm sorry, I know. I
So
know.
that's, we're gonna have that one meeting at MVU,
I have a
right?
different obligation.
If I wasn't so new, I would be more apt to ask for
Absolutely,
time.
I completely understand. That's all right, we are gonna make it work, it's just, and I appreciate, and, if you want to sit with us in the, before the budget information meeting, that would be great.
Awesome. Okay, other business, negotiation updates.
So that, we have had negotiation sessions for professionals and have started the sessions for support staff. And I would definitely look for a finding for executive session for updates. Because that would definitely put one or more parties at a substantial disadvantage.
Yep, public high school choice annual cap.
So something that we didn't do last year at MVU board meeting that we are supposed to do every year, high schools are supposed to set caps for how many students they can receive, and they may set caps for how many students that they can send to other public high schools through Act 129. I have no idea what was on our plate last year that made us not remember that we were supposed to do this every year.
Really?
And it has not particularly been a large issue here at MVU, but we did have a question about it, which prompted us to recheck the law and make sure that we were looking at things, and it came to our attention. We're supposed to set it by February 1st. It's February 4th. I think we're going to be just fine. But since we were so close to that deadline, it made sense to bring it to you. Jay and Dan, I don't know if you want to talk about the numbers that we have of folks coming and folks going. Just so
Share this.
you all know, public school choice through Act 129 allows students, we used to have agreements with a limited number of students. You can apply to any public high school. If a student resides in Franklin, Highgate, or Swanton, and they choose to go to another high school, public high school, and they are accepted, we continue to count that student, and the receiving school educates them free of charge, and vice versa. So if a student from St. Albans were to come to MBU, St. Albans would continue to count that student, and we would educate that child. So that's why it's important to make sure you have caps, so that you're not bringing in more students than you can educate with your current staff, for example. So I've talked about, do you have anything to add about the numbers or the
Not a whole lot. I
patterns?
mean, I can explain a little bit if you have any questions about what that piece of paper is coming around to you. This is information that Dee Raleigh was able to pull together for me. You can see that we've been keeping track of school choice information since the 08-09 school year, so we've got about 12 years of information. There are basically 4 columns there. It's important to note that school choice applications must be filed by March 1st. And we have drawn a pretty hard line in the sand over the last 2 or 3 years, that if you don't have your application into Dee Raleigh's office by March the 1st, we will not accept anything after that time. And as you can see, the total number of applications are there. What is in parentheses are the applications of the number of students from the 4th column over on the right. So if you look at that very first year, we had 10 applications for students wishing to go elsewhere. We had 2 applications wishing to come to MVU, and that was our total of 12. And that's how it continues down the road. What we don't know, and Dee and I had a conversation earlier today, is that if you look at the 3rd column over, which is the number of students leaving MVU, if you look at the very first year, we had 10 students leaving Missisquoi. The second year, we had 18. What we have not been able to track is whether or not that includes the 10 from the previous year, because once you get accepted into the program, you can continue to move forward, similar to what you folks have been talking about at the elementary level. And so Dee was not able to give me that specific information. I'm going to take a little bit of a leap and say that if you compare the 08-09 to the 2009-10 school year, you probably had 8 additional students participate in the program. We also have students who go and then they come back. Once you do go, you must remain in the program for at least 1 year. You can't, like go in August and then suddenly say, oh wow, MVU was really a much better place than I thought it was, and come back in September. You do have to stay for the year, and then you can come back the following year. None of this includes the students that we get from Alberg and or Sheldon. So the right-hand column are simply those students coming from other districts, whether they would be St. Albans, whether they would be Enosburg. Generally, most of our movement is within the county. We have had a couple of students go down into the Chittenden County area, largely because it was convenient for the family because they work down in that area.
So the minimum going out, it has to be 10 per year or 40 cumulative, which I think we're well within. And that's not a cap we need to set. The cap we need to set is how many students we accept. There is no formula for that one. Jay, I don't know if you have a recommendation to the board. We currently have maybe 4 to 6 kids total.
Number-wise, it has not been a problem for us.
So
So whatever
If we
you
had a-
choose to do.
if we had a
can
cap
always
of,
work with.
you know, 4 per grade level, we could easily absorb that.
Easily, yeah. And I don't even know if you would want to include a different number that would be your 9 through 12 number.
Yes, I know that at a different high school,
Mm-hmm.
we had started with a number per grade. And then there were years when maybe you had a lot of sophomores that wanted to participate and not that many freshmen or juniors. So they went through, I think 20 to 25 was their total. And I don't know, I would assume that 20 would be a perfectly fine number, 9 through 12, without impacting programming at all. 15 to 20.
I personally think that's a little high. We right now have 4. So we have here 4?
This year.
Yeah. Are they of grade level so they may continue next year? I mean, are they?
That I don't know.
You're saying the far right-hand column does not include Sheldon, Alberg, and...
Does not include Alberg and Sheldon.
Those are tuitions.
Those are tuition rates. And we don't necessarily expect that we would have 20 kids suddenly utilize public school choice. Just that, you know, the board gets to decide. We don't have to set a cap for the kids going out, but we do have to set a cap for the kids who accept.
What's the chat now?
I don't know that we
We
have
didn't do
them.
it last year.
Must have
We were
worked here
supposed to,
before.
but we were, I don't know what it was before. Did Eric or Don know from?
I don't remember what it was.
You know,
It may have been a few years since we set.
the school choice thing is certainly has merit. We've done it for 3 or 4 years, but I think it's kind of gone in a direction it wasn't intended to go in. And that concerns me a little bit. But I don't know. I guess if I was going to throw out a number, I'd throw out no more than 12 in the school.
I think so.
I don't know. It's up to you guys. But,
Really, it's not up to us, it's up to you.
a recommendation?
I will say that overall, in my conversations with other building administrators around the state, because of the overall decline in school populations, that number is really not the issue that it was even
Yes.
a decade ago.
But looking at these numbers here, number of school choice applications filed by March 1st, and we're 3.5 weeks away from March 1st. I was just talking to Devin about it. On the average, we're just throwing a number out there. We got 20 something. We only have 7. Is that?
This year, right now, of course, we still are not at the March 1st deadline.
Only 3.5 weeks though.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
People wait till the last week.
Yeah, I assume that's.
Well,
Okay.
I'll be perfectly honest with you, a lot of families will, they'll fill out the application to sort of hedge their bets. There's always a lot of conversation, I think, this time of year about, you know, I'm gonna go here, I'm going to go there. And then there are deadlines, and I'm trying to remember what Dee told me. The application has to be filed by March 1st. She will then send the applications to the respective schools that the students are applying to. They have until such and such a date to either accept or to decline the application. And then once you have been accepted, you still have until sometime almost in mid-July, I believe. You could change your mind and say, nah, I really would like to stay where I was.
Juggling.
The 7 you have, do you know if those are ins or, I mean, other columns, we know how many are coming in or going out. Are there 7 just going out, 7 coming in? Or
The 7 here are all going out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we know
Because
of
you
right
won't know
now.
until after they get the application
Right.
filled.
That's correct. That's what we know of right now for the upcoming year.
So that's a big jump from 7 to 20. It really is. Like I said, it's just an average of what I'm looking at there.
But the cap we're talking about setting is for students coming
Coming
into
in.
MBU, and the reason it could be concerning is because you wouldn't want that to exceed an amount that would make MBU incur costs or additional costs, because there's no money changing hands for these students.
Okay.
And that's the difference I wanted to point out, Eric, is Sheldon and Alberg students, there's tuition money coming from those sending towns to MBU or to MBSD to pay that tuition. In this case, there's no money exchanging hands.
That's why we need to set a cap, and it hasn't necessarily been set in a while. There was a lot of flurry around this around 2012 when Act 129 passed. But, you know, if we haven't had numbers of kids coming up against a cap, it becomes less of an issue, as Jay talked about. But I would think a cap of 12 would be perfect, since we have, you know, at most about 4 kids a year coming, 12, or 4 kids total coming. 12 would be certainly within,
I'd say probably
well
a
within that.
good portion of those students are kids of faculty.
Possibly. I mean, there's reasons why people want to make decisions, as Jay mentioned, sometimes it's because you work in Chittenden County, and so if your child is involved in lots of extracurricular activities, it's easier for you to be there as a parent. Exactly.
Peter? I just like, and I think 12 is probably gonna be fine by the numbers we're looking at, we're not even close to it, but
Right.
I'd still like to think that we could be as flexible as possible. So I'm wondering what number gives you heartburn? If we said 20, is that like?
I don't think so, we've never had to face that number.
Right. I just like to make it something that, you know, we don't have to worry about, but yet gives people freedom to explore our school.
I like Peter's term heartburn, because let me tell you a situation that would create heartburn. What year's your son in school here?
Junior.
Junior? Okay, so you take 20 kids, and there are 5 kids who are outstanding basketball players in a small school, and they want to come here. You take them. Your kids sit on the bench, like I'll make the cut. That's been an issue in a few, but very few places in the state. It hasn't been basketball, but it has happened. So that's why I'm a little cautious of not making it too large, but I'll support whatever. But since I was very involved in some of this language that came through the bill, some of the interpretations I think were different to change. But I think choice is good. I mean, I have no problem with choice. But the kid at losing this district, I think we have to protect that child too.
So just to move this along, how about we pick 12 as a number? Seems that the numbers come up the most. And let's have a motion to accept our public high school choice cap at 12 students for 9 through 12.
I'll make that.
Don's a move, first.
I'll second it.
Jen second. Any discussion?
So what if we get 13? Does that mean no? Does that mean there's, I'm
What
just saying.
schools, I will tell you what schools who have come against their cap have done, they've had to have a lottery.
I'm sorry?
They've had to have a lottery.
Once you're in though, right?
Absolutely,
So you don't bump out a junior or senior
correct.
or something.
It would be, less year.
The question comes out too about policy. I mean, are we within policy in that number? Or?
Well, this is state law, so that's why the law asks us to set this. So if, say, for some reason, we were getting 13, 14 every year, then next year the board would say, you know what, I think we can bump this up and accept those students. Or no, boy, we gotta hold fast. But that's why this portion of the law is here, so that boards have that opportunity.
Okay.
To Eric's point, I think that we set it at 12. It's a good idea, and it sounds like we have to anyways, but we do need to look at it every year to make sure that we're not creating a problem.
We'll put it on
This is a
the
good
January
chart.
agenda next year, so we meet the deadline.
This is a good chart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just also want to be careful that we don't, like Laura said, that we don't start accruing costs for students we don't collect any revenue from.
Yeah.
But.
Well, we're on the other side of it right now, but.
Yeah, exactly.
You never know.
Quite a ways.
Okay, so all those in favor of accepting the cap of 12, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Huh? What'd you say?
You said kinda.
Kinda.
That's
That's a new
not, is
classification.
that in Robert's Rules of Order?
Don's gotta think about that.
Yeah.
So,
Is that 8-0 or?
Yeah, that'll be easy.
well, I was gonna go 701 again.
No, it's 7-8-9.
Okay, and we have to reschedule our March 3rd meeting because that's town meeting day. So we don't want to have a board meeting that day, so.
We'll be done by then in Franklin.
Well, I'm sure I get one too.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, they've gone long before.
Maybe we get the
Yeah, 'cause
results of the
school part
vote.
of it.
However, the vote itself won't be ending until 7.
Right.
And some folks will be involved in transporting those ballots and so forth. We talked about possibly doing the 10th.
Sort of like the Iowa caucus.
Is that here?
It would be.
No, it is not here. In our original calendar, we did some moving around
Oh, that's
because we
right.
didn't have enough times in Highgate. And we're having our informational meeting here at MVU. So in March, it's Highgate on the 10th, should you choose that date. And Swanton? Yes. Swanton.
I just knew it was gonna bump up to get into 6th grade registration like that.
No, we won't be here.
What, I won't be able to make the 10th, so.
I
You
can't
won't
wait.
be able to make, okay.
I am a 6th grader.
Yeah, a 6th grader, that's right. All right,
Jade.
so the 10th,
You want the 10th or?
yeah.
What night of the week is that?
So that was the next Tuesday.
Okay, because I know that I'm gone for 4 days.
Because that would also be our reorg meeting.
Yeah, so you should be here for that. You'll get signed up for more if you're not
Oh,
here.
okay, I want to be here for that.
If I were you, I would be there.
Yeah,
We,
I missed one meeting before and I came back on all kinds of committees, so. So I can't do the 10th.
we could switch our town meeting day to a different day of the week. That's in the week.
We have
Our town
negotiations.
meeting,
Oh,
meeting, instead of on town meeting. We do have negotiations
Wednesday.
Wednesday the 4th.
I can do any day but the 10th.
I can't do anything that week.
What?
I'm out of town
Wait.
that week.
What week
The
are we talking?
4th through the
Or
6th.
week of March 3rd.
So what about
Oh,
like
I'm good.
March 11th then?
Rana leaves next week, so.
People are gone the whole, the week of town meeting, did I hear somebody say they're gone all the week
She's
of
out.
town
I'm out on
meeting?
business.
And you're
The
out,
week of March 10th, I'm
oh,
unavailable.
you're on March 10th.
So March
The week
10th.
of March 10th.
Oh, okay, that's what I wanted to clarify, because I thought we were out too, but with one week and one the other week. Chris, you're not gonna be here at all?
It's just the 10th, because they're having 6th grade. I have a 6th grader, so.
Oh, that's good.
So what is your pleasure? Keep town meeting day meeting? I think that would be really challenging.
Well, it'd be challenging also, what if, I think that,
Can we change town meeting day?
Well, we also, we
That
have
we
some
can't
people
do.
that are getting elected that day, so we don't necessarily
Can't have
know
a
what board
reorg
is until
meeting.
after
Yeah.
7.
yeah, that's true.
No, you're on the board, you're on the board. You don't get up there.
So would you like us to send out, sort of do this via email and find the night that we have a quorum? I'd like to do it quickly though, because it's going to be in Highgate, and I'm pretty sure Chris Palmer already reached out to me that he was looking to find out what the date is so that some kids could come and do something, or teachers when it comes.
So we're gonna do I just wondered if we just went around, took days like the 4th, 5th, 6th,
Yeah.
figure it
The
out.
4th won't work because of negotiations.
Yeah.
Is that our negotiation?
There's a concert coming up in Highgate. I don't know so.
I can get off here and I can look at my
So the
calendar.
5th is a Thursday.
We just had one.
No, I mean for K through 3.
Oh. Sorry, I
I
wouldn't
don't
know
know
about that
what
one.
it is, yeah.
You only do so much. What about the
It doesn't matter,
5th?
I can make it.
Everybody but Megan can do the 5th, right?
That would be real bad, because I don't trust y'all to not sign me up for everything.
We won't sign you up for anything different, okay?
Yes, you will.
5th. I thought that's good, it's good for me. The next week is not good for me, it's not good for me.
Megan, got your back.
Yeah, and if there's
Yeah, that'll
two
be
of you out, and Terry is out of town, but will be able to participate.
We'll sign up Terry.
Will be able to participate remotely, but if she's not able to take her oath,
Yeah, so,
Oh, we gotta do that again.
so maybe the 5th?
Alright. Like I said, it works for me.
It doesn't matter.
Seeing a lot of
Every-
no.
Buddy but Megan and just Megan.
Terry, and Terry,
Terry's not here.
if she's not very good.
That's on.
So we get a
It
vote.
is Thursday.
She wouldn't be able to this week. If she's gone, she would have her own. She would have this week.
when will she be free?
She could listen.
All right, you won't be.
That's right. You won't have to bring it down. Drop that date.
You're ditching us. We're gonna sign you up.
That's right.
Okay, so we will schedule our March 3rd meeting for March 5th. At Highgate at 6:30 in their library. March 5th, 6:30.
Steve, you've got to sign your oath before that.
I know. Well, I haven't been voted in yet.
Just have it.
Okay, so, future agenda items, we still have policies that we're working on.
Knock it off here.
And obviously, we always gotta go.
I'm sorry.
Are you?
No,
I didn't. So we also have negotiations that are ongoing. Our next meeting date is February 18th, 6:30 at Franklin Library, School Library. The next professional negotiations committee meeting with the association is this Thursday, February 6th at 6:30 here in the MVU School Library. The board will meet at 6 in the MVU conference room. Support personnel.
I thought we said 5:30. I thought we said, because we don't have a chance to do anything between.
All right, we'll do 5:30.
I mean, I thought that's what we agreed to, only because we didn't want to schedule another meeting. Huh?
That's on the 6th.
That's Thursday, yeah. Right.
So 5:30, the board meets at 5:30 at the MVU conference room. Support personnel negotiations committee with the association is March 4th at 6:30 here at the MVU School Library. The board will meet at 6 in the MVU conference room. And the MVSD annual budget informational meeting will be February 25th, 7 p.m. here in this library at MVU. So at this time, if there's nothing further.
All right.
No.
Is it like other business? Can I bring?
Yeah.
Just curious, after talking about school choice, where we're at with school choice that we approved, so I forgot what
So the
dates
next
everything was.
steps, I have been, we have procedures that have been vetted by administration, the board's looked at them. They're all set to go. I'm working on a letter, I was working on that today, and an application form. I've looked at I mean, they're pretty basic. And then I'm gonna put them before the administrative team, just to make sure that they've looked at them. I'm creating a spreadsheet that the administrators will give me all the information about how many classrooms, how many kids in each classroom, all those, and needs and so forth in those rooms. So that we will have all the information for families up on our websites, on the school websites. We'll push it out on Facebook. We applicate all the information, and application information will be up by March 1st, before town meeting. And the applications will be due to our office by April 1st. So that then we can take, it'll be about a month for us to look at them all and make sure that we have adequate space for those requests.
So you'll get back to us like in May or something. I'm just curious, want to see how many people take it.
Absolutely. After it's all
Yeah.
gone through, it's important that the board sort of hears how it went the first time around.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Anything else?
And really have policies here, but are there particular ones besides that one that we're working on?
Yes, we have facility use and tuition for non-resident pupils that we're looking at. We're also looking at the drug and alcohol policy, and we're also looking at complaints coming to the board. So the first two are in the hands of the administration already. The other two, I am working on gathering information now and bringing those to the admin team next. So I would expect those 4 to be the ones you'll see in the next several months.
Okay, so at this time, I would entertain a motion to go to executive session for negotiation update, personnel, and the lease agreement. Nope, we already took care of this. So just negotiations update and personnel.
I'll make the motion.
Steve first, Eric was second. Any discussion? Who are we inviting in? Julie
And maybe Laura, we're talking about negotiations.
okay, so Julie and Laura.
Are we gonna address that?
That comes under personnel.
Okay, all those in favor of going to executive session at 8:05, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourn to executive session. Motion carries 8-0.